Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm so happy to be here. I know you're all here for Kevin Kwan. So my name is Jenny Jackson. I'm Kevin's editor at Doubleday. We are here tonight to talk about the most anticipated book of the summer, Sex and Vanity. Here is Kevin Kwan.
Hello, hello.
Kevin. I'm going to start off asking you indirectly about Crazy Rich Asians. I know you have about 5 million fans of that book, if not more. And so I think the first thing that people are going to want to know from you is, have you written Crazy Rich Asians all over again, or is this book something different?
It's completely, totally different. Thank God for me. It was very much a collaboration in the sense that you asked me like what I wanted to write next, and I said, I have this fantasy of really recreating and retelling A Room of a View, but really making it my own, and just really writing a really fun, juicy summer novel. Like, we wanted it to be the ultimate beach read that we could just take to the beach and have bellinis and mojitos and just chill out and just read a fun, simple story. That was the whole idea.
Well, your other books are, globe-trotting, and they take us all over the East. This book is different because it is set between New York and Capri in Italy. Why Capri? Why?
Well, first of all, I think it's the most beautiful island in the world. But there's also a really personal link. I read A Room of a View for the first time when I was probably 15 years old, and saw the movie, and the book and the movie together, they're kind of like a double whammy of Italy. It makes you fall in love with Italy, even if you've never been there before. So I remember just really hassling my parents and conniving, and the very next summer we got to go to Italy, and as a family vacation, and we did what every tourist did, which is we went to Capri for the day. Like the worst thing you do, because you get to the island and 50,000 other people join you from ferries all around the Amalfi Coast, and you're sweaty, but it was beautiful. Just seeing this island, it's just this enchanted paradise. And I just really felt I need to come back. This is the most beautiful island in the world. It's so romantic. It's so beautiful. The food looks amazing. So I left very sad. And a few years later, I was able to go back, and I've been going back ever since. So A Room of a View started my love affair with Italy. And so I think we're coming back full circle now. And I really felt it was a great place to stage this, torrid summer romance.
This torrid summer romance. I mean, that is what this book is. It's a love story. Crazy Rich Asians is a love story, and it's also a story about an ABC Chinese and who falls in love with an overseas Chinese. This book is different. It's a love story, but the dynamics are different and the stakes are different, right?
They're totally different. I mean, it's a very personal stake here. I think Lucie is really, she's 19 years old when we first meet her. And she is biracial. Her mother is American-born Chinese, but her father comes from this old establishment WASP Mayflower family. So they're kind of like the Youngs in a way of New York. And so she has to navigate this world, not as Rachel Chu, not as someone mirroring in, but someone that's been born into this family, but who presents looking much more Chinese than almost all her other cousins. So that presents, I think, for her own struggle. Her own internal struggle to find acceptance in herself, and acceptance in how she wants to live her life and who she wants to love, ultimately.
What drew you to write about that? What made you decide to make your main character Hapa?
Well, first of all, I think it's very, very rarely written about. There's hardly, what I've been hearing from other Hapas actually is that they've never seen this before, to see a contemporary Hapa heroine in a book. So I felt like we needed to really service that need, number one, in literature. And number two, like I have so many cousins, so many friends who are Hapa, who are mixed race. So I've sort of watched this my whole life, and seen, the various challenges and triumphs of different people within my own family, as they sort of find their way. Because it works both ways too. I mean, try being Hapa in my family. This crazy Chinese family. You know, it's, for a lot of people, it really creates identity issues. And for some, it's just fine. It's just perfect. But everyone's got a different story. So I thought it'd be, you know, really a meaningful way to explore so many issues in one character.
It is, Lucie. I mean, it's interesting because it's a love story for Lucie about her and George. And it's also a love story about Lucie and herself. And that's what makes it so resonant and meaningful.
Very well. Thank you. I would not have been able to say that.
I can't believe I've never asked you this question. You and I have talked about this book for a couple years now. What does the title mean? Why did you call it Sex and Vanity?
The title actually was given to me by a friend who, I think at the time he said it, he was 17. And, you know, he's a family friend, and he, you know, is like a high schooler. And we were talking one day just about how crazy everyone around him was, just obsessed with social media. You know, he's in the age group where everyone's Snapchatting every 5 seconds, everyone's Instagramming every 10 seconds. And he is such an anomaly in that he's not on social media at all. He wants to live in real time and have real face-to-face personal exchanges. And you know, that's just how he chooses to live his life. And I think it makes him unique as a person. But he was ranting about it. And he goes, you know, it's like, what is Instagram? You know, what are all these things? They're just nothing but sex and vanity.
Yeah.
Really. You know, you boil down to it. And I just thought about it, and I was like, wow. I mean, it's so true.
It's so true, and it suits this book so perfectly because
yeah.
those are the things that the characters are struggling the most with, and Lucie's really trying to suppress one for the other. Speaking of Sex and Vanity, so the book starts with this like total meet cute with Lucie and George when he offers her his room with a view. The second time that they encounter each other, it's like kind of the opposite of a meet cute because Lucie sees George wearing a Speedo, and it is for her like just, I mean, sexual napalm. She's like, no, isn't like, really, I can't stop laughing every time I think about it. You have to just tell us like why the Speedo, because it's so funny.
Well, it's interesting. I was playing two games there. You know, as with all my books, there's always layers and layers and layers that are very sub-referential. And that's how my crazy mind works. So they're at this beach club. They're at one of the most amazing, beautiful, exclusive beach clubs in the world. It's called Da Luigi, and it's in Capri, but it's by these ginormous, prehistoric, magical rocks that are just off the coast. You know, they're like little mountains. But they're so romantic and mystical looking. They're called the Faraglioni Rocks. And they're at this beach club where, like 5 years ago, Dolce & Gabbana filmed this iconic commercial for their cologne and perfume, where there is, you know, the male supermodel, David Gandy. He gets off a boat and climbs up a dock in a pair of white Speedos. And they filmed it at that very beach club. So number one, I remember that. But number two, it's very cultural. You know, George is from Hong Kong, you know, and he's an Asian kid. They have a very different relationship with Speedos. You know, Speedos are widely worn in Asia. And he's also, you know, he went to high school in Australia and was a surfer and like a young lifeguard. And that's the uniform of a lifeguard. They wear what they call budgie smugglers, which are basically skinnier than Speedos, you know. So I think he's very embodied in his physicality. Yeah. You know, he's a jock and he's just very comfortable in his body in a way. So, and culturally, you know, being an Aussie, Hong Kong, Asian dude, for him, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
It is for American-born Lucie, where it is an issue, where like Speedos are a complete, total turn off. So I wanted that clash of cultures. Where she's so embarrassed for him and mortified for him. Which is a really interesting place to be psychologically, don't you think? He's not embarrassed. He's living his life. You know, she's there, you know, but she's just mortified. And because she thinks somehow it reflects on her. Yeah. because they're one of the only two Asians. Well, not one of the, he's
Yeah.
Asian, so like she feels like, oh my God, he sticks out. He's like the nerdy Asian in the Speedos. Get me away from him,
I love it. This is pure Kevin Kwan. It's like something that reads like just a joke, but means so many other things. That's just like classic Kevin. I feel like the Dalhousie Beach Club would be happy to have you back because you made it look so amazing. I have a question for you about the beach club in the Hamptons, the yacht club in the Hamptons. You were very, very, very funny about this yacht club where they at one point make one of the characters take off his designer top and buy like this tacky club polo to wear because of their dress code rules. A, what is that story based on? And B, will that club ever let you back?
Well, I think, that I lived that story, a version of that story because, I'm not Cecil, in the book, there is a very obnoxious character that, sort of lives what kind of like the inspiration for what happened. But I was I was invited to brunch at the club and I actually got, it's a nice, respectable place. So I got dressed up. I wore kind of a dressy sweater top, like a sweater, like a V-neck sweater. And they were like, nope, you can't come in. You got to wear a crew neck, you need a collar. And it was like the most ridiculous thing because I was like semi-formally dressed, and there were kids like at the club in shorts and like old faded polos with holes in it, but it didn't matter. They had a collar, so like, yeah, exactly. So like, it was just really, but for me, I, happily just bought the polo and it's actually become one of my favorite shirts. It's just worn so well over time. It gets more and more faded and the cotton gets softer and softer. So unlike Cecil, I loved my polo, still love it. Had no problem changing. He throws a fit, which I had really a lot of fun writing. But yeah, that's a story. Will they ever let me back in? Probably not. Yeah, I think my friends are probably banned too. They're gonna figure it out. And
you can go in disguise next time you want to go. I'm sure they won't recognize you.
yeah. I'll borrow your hair. That's that.
Well, I realize that I have a few more things to ask you, but I would like to encourage people who have questions to start to think about them and put them in the comments side because we will have time to answer a couple questions. Kevin, I want to say you introduce some of the most amazing vocabulary in this book. One of the words I hadn't heard before was motionalite for a male socialite. Another word that I hadn't heard before is millennial for a billionaire millennial. Are these people real? Do you know any motionalites or millennials?
So millennials, I made up. At least I think I made it up. Most have been around for years, and I think even like New York Times did a whole article like years ago
on
motionalites. Yeah, and yeah, no, I totally living in New York knew quite a few motionalites. Like these guys that did nothing, but they didn't really work. They didn't, they just kind of lived to party and be seen at these key Upper East Side social events. It was a very specific world that they wanted to belong to and be part of. And they would, like be co-hosts of galas and charity benefits and stuff like that. And it was just, it's such an interesting thing to want to be, I find, but, I think there's a new generation every 5 years of like new motionalites in New York. And then millennials, I mean, unfortunately, there are more and more of them these days. I mean, it's kind of crazy how wealthy the wealthy are getting and how younger they are, in terms of just either inheriting money or actually making these super quick tech fortunes, like where they'll invent an app or something like that.
Or like a lip kit or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, so it's they're out there, and I have met a few of them.
Well, I have a question that I know everybody really wants to know. If, and we're all hoping this becomes a movie, do you have a dream cast? Do you have anybody in mind? Did you think about any actors or actresses when you were writing it?
This time around, I have to say yes. People have asked me this question many times in reference to Crazy Rich Asians and CRA 2 and the other books, and that at that point I did not. But this time, having worked in Hollywood, I'm developing TV shows and other movies and other projects, and I've met a lot of actors from around the world. There's just so much talent out there. And I wish I could write like a book every month that would be turned into a TV show or a movie to just really give all, to give all the amazing talent, work, So yeah, I already know who I would love to cast as George, and Lucie and Charlotte. And so I've got it all cast in my mind, but I can't say, just because I don't want to.
All right, we will take guesses. We'll guess, and if anybody in the comments gets it right, blink twice. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And then I know a lot of your fans here are also writers. And is there any advice you would give to your fans or to people who've loved your work and feel that they might have a story to tell also?
I would really advise them to contact Jenny Jackson right here. Because she's the best editor in the world. And really, I do think, like, actually that's good advice in a way. Like, you really want to trust, show your work to some trusted individuals who you can really be counted on for, truly honest feedback. And those usually exclude other writers, I would say, So when I was writing my books, even the first books, I would show my early drafts to people that I knew were amazing readers, people who read a lot, people who really loved the books. And that's who I wanted to appeal my books to, bad grammar, sorry. But, like, I really wanted to, to really get the insight of people that were readers who loved to read. And I've always done that ever since. So that's one piece of advice. And then the other one, which I always say, is really write your truth, write whatever you really want that brings you joy. Because why else would you do it?
I think that's great advice. Tomas in the comments would like to know how long it took you to write this book and if you have a routine for your writing.
This book was an anomaly because this lady here, I think you gave me 3.5 months.
Yeah, I'm cruel. Yes.
She's a taskmaster. Yeah, so I wrote it actually in 4 months. I think, we sort of fudged the dates at the end and I got an extra 2 weeks. Which I'm eternally grateful for. But I actually didn't think I would be able to pull it off. But you were right. Once I started writing and, I could really dedicate 8 to 10 hours a day writing, which is what I was doing. It just kind of really flowed. Because once again, this was a book that I'd been constructing in my mind for probably 10 years. So it was just a matter of getting the story out. Normally, I would love to have 3 years to write a book. That'd be really like my ideal. We'll see what happens with the next book.
Well, speaking of the next book, Claudia wants to know if you feel like this will also become a series.
So this is the start of a new trilogy. Sex and Vanity is the first book in what we hope is 3 books. But it's going to be a very different type of trilogy because it's not going to be a story that continues from book 2 to book 3. The story that I've just told in Sex and Vanity is finished. It's done once you close the book on the last page. But the sequel continues because they're inspired by great cities. So the cities are the link between the books. And so this first book is really my love letter to New York. The next book will be my love letter to London. And the last book in the series will be Paris. That's the idea. And you might see Lucie come in and out of the next book and interact with the new characters, but she will by no means be the star of the show.
Well, that's and also a hint for a fun Easter egg in Sex and Vanity, because one of our favorite characters from Crazy Rich Asians you see at a distance in Sex and Vanity. So that's just a fun thing for readers to keep their eye out for.
There's more than one Easter egg. There's a few Easter eggs in there that people, really sharp-eyed people will hopefully find. Someone commented yesterday and was like, "Oh my God, at last I know something, about someone." And I was like, "You are sharp. You got it."
Can you tell me what page?
Yeah.
All right, we have another question from Stephanie who says, "Love Crazy Rich Asians and Sex and Vanity. What are you reading now? Any book recs?"
I am reading, I read like 5 books at the same time. So I just started Vida Sackville-West's The Edwardians. The other book I'm reading is called Orient by Christopher Bolin. I'm sort of in love with Christopher Bolin's writing this summer. I sort of just discovered his work when we first started the lockdown. And I read his most recent novel, which came out right before the lockdown, and that's called A Beautiful Crime. And it's set in Venice. It's this kind of con game, caper, thriller, mystery, but beautifully told. So I read that book, most recent book, then I went and read his previous book, The Destroyers, which is set in the Greek islands. These are all amazing summer books, by the way. And now I'm reading Orient, which is set in Orient, Long Island. Yeah, so that's one book. Another book recently that I read that I absolutely just was astonished by was Notes on a Silencing. It's a memoir by Lacie Crawford. It's going to be out in a couple of weeks, and it really, it's just the most, I don't even know how to put it into words. It's the most astonishing memoir of a young person growing up, going to a very elite prep school in America, and what happens to her there. Notes on a Silencing.
Notes on a Silencing. Question here from Cecile, who would like to know, when will the sequel to this book launch?
That's a question I shouldn't be answering in front of my editor, because what would your preference be?
I think that I'll let you have a little bit of time to relax and recharge, but I very much hope we're having the same exact conversation summer 2022.
That is my hope too. So
summer 2022. Tomas would like to know if you watch TV.
I do, actually. I've been watching more TV than I ever have, thanks to the lockdown. And I just started season 3 of Dark. For those of you who haven't seen it, Dark is the Netflix German series. It's the first original German Netflix show, and you should absolutely watch it in German with English subtitles, but it's just mind-blowingly brilliant. Jiri Haji is another one that I've been watching. That just had 1 season, and it's this story that's set in London and Tokyo at the same time. Brilliant. And I'm looking for recommendations, really, on really stuff that really, you can get lost in. Stuff that makes you sort of, forget your anxiety.
Well, Sex and Vanity definitely does that. Troy Williams has a question that I love here. What has shocked you the most from doing research on the super rich, over-the-top worlds in your novels?
What has shocked me the most? I don't know if anything is that shockable anymore, unfortunately. I think I'm really, really kind of numbed by I still think plastic surgery on fish is just one of those bizarre things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like when your pet $500,000 arowana gets a facelift. That's kind of bizarre. And it just, I don't know, it just, there's something to me that's so obscene and wrong about that.
My favorite thing though, Kevin, is I know we've talked about this before, but this is our 4th book working on together. And it's just always amused me that I will frequently be like, Kevin, this is too over the top. This would never happen. You're going to have to cut this scene. And you're like, this happened in real life. And I'm like, oh, okay, you can leave it then.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of early reactions to the wedding. There's a wedding. My book is set at a wedding in Capri, and people are like, this wedding is unbelievable. I was like, well, actually, my friend Fei Ping did. So Google Capri wedding Vogue, and you will see it.
We do have a question about your favorite sandals, so I have to pull this one out from Ron Gallant. Kevin, in the book, there's a vivid scene in the sandal shop in Capri. My question is, do you have a collection of sandals from that shop?
That's a very loaded question, Ron, and I think you know the answer. I do. I have way too many sandals, and I'm actually wearing one now. I'll show it to you. This is my favorite summer sandal this year. Hold on.
Beautiful.
It's just like a simple black flip-flop, but it's all made in leather. And sorry, I know it's gross for some people to look at shoes up close, but it's, to me, the beautiful craftsmanship of a beautiful object that's so simple and so utilitarian and so comfortable, and it's going to last me for 10 years. I think it's money well spent.
That's perfectly Kevin. I feel like there are people who are like, why are you not wearing gold boots up to your knees? Like something, wild. But Kevin, you're much more like something beautiful and practical that will last me a really long time. That's more your MO.
Yeah. As my grandfather used to like to say, I am too poor to buy cheap clothes.
There's a nice note from Georgina here. Hi, Kevin. I was a student at USF and you went and talked about Crazy Rich Asians. You even signed my book. I've loved your books ever since. Thank you.
Thank you. I had such fun at USF. That was a really, really fun night. And what a great college.
Hazel recommends you watch some Korean drama.
Which one? Which is your top recommendation for a Korean drama?
All right, Hazel, you have to comment below and tell us. We want more.
I'd love to. I've never seen one, believe it or not.
Alex Garcia would like you to settle a battle here. He says, Kevin, settle this for us. Bookmark or dog ear?
Ooh, bookmark, definitely. I don't ever dog ear my books. My books are too precious to me. So I have a collection of lots of different bookmarks from different, my favorite bookstores, basically. And sometimes I'll put postcards and notes from friends into books and use them. But yeah, no, I can't. To me, it would be really abusing a book to even like dog ear it a tiny bit.
Helen Tujo, your favorite brand of clothing?
I don't really have a favorite brand. I really I buy from a lot these days from a lot of like individual tailors who have small little shops in Capri, in Italy, stuff like that. I only shop when I get to travel, actually, because in New York and LA, I don't ever have time to shop. So I only buy clothes and I try to support these like very, very local artisans who are making like amazing, like this shirt is from this guy in Rome who makes nothing but these beautifully spun linen shirts. And I wouldn't even be able to tell you what the name of the brand is. I just know where the store is.
Yeah, but that's socially responsible, and that he was paid appropriately for his work, and that it's
Yeah, totally. Artisans, yeah. No sweatshop labor.
Michelle Conklin would like to know, if you weren't a writer, what profession would you have pursued?
Well, before I was writing, I was a design consultant for 15 years. And I was actually really loving that. I had a really great time. I had an amazing roster of clients. I had a lot of publishing clients, so I got to work on other people's books. I helped to design websites. I helped to do theater design, lots of stuff. So I loved the variety of that. And every day was a different challenge with a different group of people. And I loved managing teams. Writing is a very solitary sport. So that's what is so fun now that I'm working in TV. TV is a huge team project. You're writing with groups of writers, whole teams. And so I like that. But the other thing I would have really loved to have done is marine biology. That was actually a serious consideration back when I was in high school. Like I was kind of wondering whether to go for it and get a, good marine biology school, because I am just, fascinated by sea life and the oceans, and I love going diving and, exploring, stuff like that. So,
well, I'm sure that you would have been amazing at it, but I'm glad you didn't, because I'm glad we get to read your books instead.
Thank you. I could have just discovered a whole new like species of fish, right? Or like a cure for cancer or something from the ocean. You never know. I'm being very grandiose.
For the Arowina, Kevin, you could have done fish plastic surgery. So Amanda Whitbeck would like to know, is there any news on when the second movie for China Rich Girlfriend will come out? I know things are a little paused because of the current pandemic, but anything to share?
Yeah, our plan was to start shooting this fall, had the pandemic not happened. And, I think everyone's just getting everything in gear so that, once things open up, hopefully by early next year, we can really go into production. But in the meantime, it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise because it's really giving our screenwriting team and more time to really polish and make the script perfect. So I think it's going to end up being a good thing. But yeah, no, we're really looking forward to filming next year, as soon as we all can safely do so.
We have a question from a bookseller. So she says, oh, good. We have two really good questions. Okay, first I'm gonna read you Melissa's question. Melissa, bookseller here. What would you tell a customer about your books if you were the bookseller recommending them?
Ooh, I would be the worst person to recommend my own book. It's even hard for me to describe my books or talk about them. Or, what would you say, Jenny?
Oh, I would say,
right? Booksellers. For booksellers, because they know how to sell books, and so like I really defer to them, really, in terms of like how they best know their customer. But what would you say? I'm sorry.
I would say you're not getting to Capri this year any other way, so take this book and do it. That's what I would say. This is a fun one. So from Michelle Conklin, what was your big purchase once your first book hit the bestseller list?
What was my big purchase? This was 2013, I would say. I think I bought a watch that I really wanted. So I collect vintage watches, and so I got a watch.
That's a
that
cool.
I've been sort of eyeing. Yeah. Practical purchase.
Practical purchase. From Cecile, will you combine the last two books into one movie or keep them separate?
I cannot tell you that. I'm sorry. That's a big Warner Brothers secret of like what we're gonna do. So unfortunately, I'm sworn to.
A good juicy question.
Yeah.
Temperosa asks, "How are you keeping sane these days?"
Well, it's kind of a blessing to be busy during this time. I went straight from finishing my book to restarting a TV project. So I've actually been working nonstop with a whole team. We're trying to write a TV series right now and have it ready to start filming the minute we all can get together and do that. So it's been super busy. And then of course I've been promoting this book the last few weeks, and I don't know, it's great to have a reason to wake up. That's all I can say. Get out of bed and do something, because otherwise I think I would sometimes choose to just stay in bed and wallow in the weirdness of the time we're in. Food also gets me up. Been cooking a lot.
Are you? That's impressive.
Yeah, more than ever.
You guys should, if you don't follow Kevin on social media, it is fun to see. He is an excellent photographer of his culinary project, and also somehow is always finding the most beautiful things to eat. And also is just generally like taking pictures of fun stuff. So follow Kevin if you don't already. I know we have to go in just a moment, but Eva asks, is there going to be a Crazy Rich Asians prequel about Nick's parents?
There could be. You never know. Right now I'm committed to writing these two other books after Sex and Vanity. But I'm totally open to writing a prequel or something else that still involves, the young family. For now, I think they needed to take a break. We needed a break from each other, I think. But you never know, So thanks for asking.
Well, I want to remind everybody that Sex and Vanity is on sale. It is available 24/7 on barnesandnoble.com. Also, BNN has signed editions of the book. So if you would like a signed edition, that is where you should go to get it. It's been so much fun talking to you, Kevin. It's been so much fun reading everybody's comments. I'm grateful to you for doing this event, Kevin.
Thanks for doing it. It's really, I mean, this is the first event we've done together, I think.
Yeah,
And we
crazy. Yes.
I mean, it's like you're the ultimate expert on my books. So I think if we can get you back for something else, it'd be lovely. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your questions, and thanks for being here today in the middle of the day to ask questions and to visit. I really, really appreciate it, and really hope you enjoy the book. I mean, I feel like all I really wanted to do was make people laugh and bring people joy, especially during this time. So thank you for all your support, and thank you, Barnes & Noble, for hosting us.
Thank you. Sex and Vanity.